قاعدين على باب البيت
يعني داخلين الأرض
مقاومين وكأنهم منفلتين عن القانون.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dave Robbins with End Time Ministries, and I do thank you for joining me on this edition of the End Time Show. The world has become interconnected at a level that we've never before imagined possible. States, banking, communications, transport, tech, and international development organizations have all embraced digital identification. The current conversation hinges on the need to speed up registrations to ensure that every person on the planet has their own digital ID. This is the direction we're moving. Very quickly now. As a matter of fact, the World Bank considers 7 of the 8 billion people on the earth already numbered. We have not stumbled into this new age of digital data management unwittingly. International organizations such as the World Bank and the United Nations have actively encouraged states to provide citizens with proof of their legal existence in an effort to combat structural poverty, statelessness, and social exclusion. So it's very important that we understand that all of these things are pointing us towards the eventual system that the Bible calls the mark of the beast. Oh, I should say that people that study these things refer to it as the mark of the beast, but it's the Bible prophesies that there's a time coming when every person is going to be required by the Antichrist, again in his world governing system, to have their own unique identification number. And without that, no one is going to be able to buy or sell or participate in the economy, be a productive member of society. In order to get your number, everyone's going to be forced to worship or pledge allegiance to the Antichrist and his world governing system. But according to the Bible, anyone who pledges allegiance to the Antichrist will be eternally damned. That's Revelation chapter 14. So imagine the power of an individual who could control the buying and selling and the very ability for a person to be able to participate in the society in any way, especially on a global level. You see, it's not where the different these different technologies and numbering systems, iris scans, facial recognition photographs, microchips, social credit scores, artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, the Internet of Everything. All of this is very, very real, folks. We're already there. And all of these moves towards a cashless society, it's not where they begin. Perhaps they began with, somebody trying to solve a very important need. But the problem is it's what they lead to, a system of control. And when these efforts were launched, none of them were the mark of the beast. However, Bible prophecy foretells everything these systems help to create, this vast global numbering system that people will have to be part of, will eventually be used by the Antichrist to coerce people to pledge allegiance to him. I've said this for years, that the Antichrist is only going to have 3.5 years to rule over the world. So he's not going to come on the scene and say, how can I control these people? How can I get them to bow down to my edicts and to worship me? That's going to be the goal. In doing that, you'll be worshiping Satan. The Bible says they worship the Antichrist in Revelation 13, and they worship the dragon, or Satan himself. Well, it's again, that's of eternal consequence. You absolutely cannot do that, but that's going to be his goal. So he's not going to come on the scene and say, man, how can I do that? Well, I probably ought to establish a world government, and then I need a way to sanction everybody, so let's create a digital ID system to where I can number everybody. The Antichrist isn't going to have time to do all that. He is going to usurp authority over an already fully functioning system, and that is exactly what we're seeing being established as we speak, folks. The global numbering systems, all of these digital IDs and facial recognition photographs and all these ways to number everybody, all of this plays into this. You know, all of these efforts, they're in one way or another aiding in the establishment of that one final global numbering system. And until the invention of, this is a 2,000-year-old prophecy, but until the invention of the computer and the internet and now blockchain technology and all of these things, none of this was even possible. But during my generation and the generation we're living in now, it has been made possible. But yet some people say, well, you know, Dave, we're not really in the end time. I haven't bought into that. What planet are you living on? What Bible are you reading? We're way off into the end time. We're just prior to the second coming of Jesus Christ. I don't care if it's 20 years from now. It's still, we're right on the cusp of it. And in my opinion, it's probably much sooner than that. So regardless of the technology, the world government must number every person. And believe me, they're all of the global governing efforts, organizations they're pushing for this right now. And this numbering system will most certainly be digital. And therefore, it is imperative that the global population transition from physical cash to a digital currency, and everybody must transition into a digital society. Can you feel the push for that right now? Getting everybody to go digital. I hardly ever, almost never, use cash anymore. Maybe if I were to stop by a garage sale, or maybe put some money in somebody's birthday card or but I'm saying normally 99% of my purchases, I'm on the go. I'm traveling. I'm going through airports. I'm out and about, taking somebody out to dinner, whatever. I mean, everything, my life, I'm going 100,000 miles an hour, it seems like. I don't use cash anymore. And most of my friends, most of my family, most of my sphere of influence, when I go out and I'm traveling with people, very seldom do you see cash anymore. Everybody's moving totally digital. That's all by grand design. America, the world, has been forced down this huge funnel onto this digital pipeline. And everybody, you know, there are still some great holdouts that try to use cash for everything. But by and large, most people, the cashless transactions are way up. The percentage of those in America and especially overseas. And so, you know, it's super convenient, right? You just have a card in your billfold, whip it out, and I can buy things in Israel and in Europe and wherever. I can use my credit union's debit card over there.
As soon as you say end time, they say, whoa, the end of the world. When's it going to be? And you can see this mask of fear. I'm not telling you the time is coming. I'm telling you, you live in it right now. Daniel chapter number 7, verse number 4. The first beast was like a lion. We have the eagle used continually to depict the United States of America. You see it on governmental documents. We are the generation for which these that you will not miss one segment of understanding end time, because I've had many people tell me it's changed their life forever. Many of the major prophecies of the Bible are given to us 2, 3, some of them as high as 4 or 5 times. There is not any chance it's not going to happen, because it's in your Bible, it's prophesied, and the prophecies always come back.
Now, I want to go to an article, or actually I'm going to hit several things that I saw on a website called The Sociable. You should check it out. It's very up-to-date information on global IDs and numbering systems and everything the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund and the World Economic Forum and all of them are trying to do. If you want to keep up to date, visit The Sociable. It's one of them that I go to. So they published an article. The World Bank president calls on governments to launch digital IDs and to connect with the private sector. Why am I talking about this today? Because I'm showing you that these are unelected globalists running the world, and they are driving as hard as they can for the entire world to go digital and everybody to have their own unique digital identity so that they can function in the world. But they're going to use this to economically sanction people, and they're already doing that. So let me show you how as we go down through here. So the president of the World Bank, you've got the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, and all of these are designed to run the economy of the world, okay? So the president of the World Bank, he's called on governments to launch these digital identity schemes so that they can be linked with the private sector and existing infrastructures that are already built. So he was speaking at the World Bank Group's inaugural Global Digital Summit last week. And World Bank President, his name is Ajay Banga. And he said that digital identity should be embraced worldwide and that governments should be the owners of those digital ID data banks, so that they can guarantee privacy and security for their citizen. Boy, I just want my government in charge of that, right? Well, according to Banga, once everyone is hooked up to the digital ID, then it can be linked to existing infrastructure and that's run by private companies. Well, what that's going to do is once you get your digital ID and it's linked to private companies and different things, then they're going to store all of your data, and once everything goes digital, they can tell every single thing you do, where you buy your gas, your groceries, a magazine that you bought last week, any kind of a loan that you took out, any kind of money that you put in your bank account. So they can track your taxes a lot more. a lot of people want to make some money on the side to maybe avoid some taxes. I'm just saying, I know there's people that have done that. But yet, when everything goes digital, that's going to be impossible. The government wants to track every single thing you do. So, going completely digital will allow them to do that. The World Bank president emphasized the importance of governments owning citizens' digital identities, and he argued that it's fundamental for societal functioning. Now remember, the mark of the beast, Revelation 13, 16 through 18, that everybody's going to be given their own unique identification number, and without that, the Bible calls it a mark in the right hand or in the forehead, but it's going to be a unique digital identification number. They're going to need that to buy or sell, to function in society. The World Bank leader, president, last week just said that it's fundamental. These digital IDs are fundamental for people to be able to function in society, folks. This is a 2,000-year-old prophecy. I would highly doubt that this individual has read the prophecies of the Bible and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to design a system so that we can fulfill this prophecy. That's not what they're doing. These people are designing a system to control you and me. Again, the people that run these things are unelected globalists. They believe in a world governing body. That's what they're doing here. So the president of the World Bank, he asserted in this meeting that digital IDs, along with currency and safety, are essential components of the social contract between citizens and their governments, highlighting the need to safeguard these rights from private ownership. And I got a clip here that I want you to see of the actual interview. It's just a real short clip.
Providing infrastructure is a core element, but on top of that, creating a digital identity platform for citizenry is kind of foundational. Because, and I believe your government should be the owner of your digital ID.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Private companies should not own that. It is the social contract of a citizen with their country to have an identity, a currency, and safety. You should not take that away from them. They should have the digital identity. That digital identity should guarantee the privacy of that citizen. It should help them with their security, but the government should give the identity.
Yeah.
Once you do that, then connecting them to the infrastructure that a private company, whether Ericsson or Verizon or combinations of them, in fact, most states a combination, can build, then the question is, what do you do with it? That requires that digital ID so you can start connecting with that citizen. Now, the question is, when you connect with that citizen, you must ensure that governments guarantee the privacy of that citizen. Because if you don't do that, you will run into trouble with the acceptance of the idea. So if you want this to be embraced around the world, yes, get the infrastructure, get a digital ID. That's what we used to talk about even earlier.
Yeah.
Get that going and then move from there.
Yeah, and based on that, you can be financially included, you can get
insurance,
you can get insurance, you can start a business. Everything is built on
it. Credit, everything flows from there.
Yeah.
So the guy said that they should have a digital identity, and that digital identity should guarantee the privacy of the citizen. Yeah, right, because the government is going to own this. He said it should help them the privacy of the citizens, their security, but the government should give the identity. The government's going to own all of this. And then he said, once you do that, then you connect them to the infrastructure that are private companies, different companies. He said, in fact, mostly it's a combination. Then the question is, what do you do with that if it requires a digital ID? So you can start connecting that with the citizens. So he's saying that as a foundation to all the countries around the world, every citizen has to have a digital ID. The government should give them that ID, own it, and then we'll connect them to the businesses. They can use that digital identity to function in society. But imagine if you didn't have that digital identity, or if the government had the ability to shut that off. Could they economic sanction you? Man, you better believe they could. I'm going to show you that in a minute, what all the infrastructure that they want to connect you to. Because, folks, the system of the mark of the beast is being established right now. The Antichrist will eventually usurp authority over this and economically sanction people. So, For the president of the World Bank, his name's Banga, and other unelected globalists, this digital identity is the key to unlocking access to goods and services through public-private partnerships. He said it's the fusion of the corporation and the state. Once governments launch their digital identity schemes, the World Bank president says that they should be connected to private companies and existing infrastructures. So if you want this to be embraced around the world, he said, yes, get the infrastructure, get a digital ID, get that going, and then move from there, he added, well, I want to show you a diagram here. It's very important because this is what they want you to be connected with. And if you look there in the middle, if you let's say you're the person that has the digital identity, here's what they want the digital identity to be connected to. In other words, in the future, they want you to have this government-issued digital ID to have access to health care, access to any financial services. You want to go buy a house, you want a loan. They want to connect you through your digital ID, any kind of food and sustainability, travel and mobility, humanitarian resources, e-commerce, anything you would buy online, you got to have a digital ID, social platforms, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff, got to have a digital ID, e-government, telecommunications, and which anything you're going to do on a phone, anything like that, you got to have this digital ID. So you can see that they're laying the groundwork for all of this to connect you and your digital ID to be able to function in society, healthcare, insurance, I mean everything. Once this digital ID is established and connected to public-private infrastructure, everything else can be built on top of that, including financial services, insurance, healthcare, education, and the process of starting a new business. I mean, everything that you would do in society, the digital ID would be required for every single thing, all the infrastructure that's already built. This is what the president of the World Bank is saying here. He's saying the digital ID, that's simply the foundation. Then we connect you into all this infrastructure, but the government is going to issue you this ID. Now, in America, we're getting pretty close to that. Try to function in society without your Social Security number. The World Bank already, I've seen the map. The World Bank already, and I tell you what you could do if you're out there. I've saw the map once and then I couldn't find it again. But it showed everywhere that the World Bank already considers numbered. And if you find that, send that to drobbins@endtime.com. There's just some homework to find that map again, because the United States was already blacked in. We were already considered numbered. Most nations around the earth are already considered. Now they say there's less than 1 billion people of the 8 billion population that are not numbered. And boy, they're trying to hammer that home in all of these poorer nations in the world and homeless people, even here in the United States. So, wow. I mean, is this thing coming down or not? The system is being set up so the Antichrist can dole out the mark of the beast in just the very near future during the Great Tribulation. The World Bank president's words are, of course, echo those of India's digital ID architect. His name is Nandan Nilekani. And he said at last year's International Monetary Fund, the spring meetings, that if you think, what are the tools of the new world, he said, everybody should have a digital ID. Everybody should have a bank account. Everybody should have a smartphone. Then anything can be done. Everything else is built on that. I want you to hear the clip in his own words.
If you think, what are the tools of the new world? Everybody should have a digital ID. Everybody should have a bank account. Everybody should have a smartphone.
Okay.
Then anything can be done. Everything else is built on that.
Because we were talking about this before we came onto the panel. The 3 basic things: a smartphone, a bank account, and a digital ID.
Yes.
That's where every nation...
In India, it's been named by the Prime Minister the JAM Trinity. Jan Dhan, which is the bank account, Aadhaar, the ID, and mobile.
It shouldn't cost that much.
Nothing. Peanuts.
So all of these unelected globalists And that's what the reason I say unelected is because it means you're not in control. I'm not in control. These are globalists. They believe in a world governing body. And Nilikani here, and the lady that's interviewing him, I didn't get her name, but this guy is a staunch advocate. He's with the he's with the World Economic Forum in different places. He says he's a staunch advocate of digital public infrastructure. And I'm sorry, he's with the International Monetary Fund. He is a staunch advocate of digital public infrastructure. I want you to remember this. This is something we need to watch. It's DPI, digital public infrastructure. And it consists of 3 components. Remember the video. Digital identity. That's the foundation for all of this, folks. That's why they're pushing. They're driving us into a digital world. Everything's digital. Everything physical, it's not trackable, and it's galling them. They can't stand that. They want to be able to track and control everybody. Same thing the Antichrist is going to do with the mark of the beast. So, digital identity, that's the basis. Everybody on earth needs to be given their own unique digital identification number. And then digital payment systems. We got to get everybody in, we got to get control of people's bank accounts. And then mass data sharing, which would be cell phones and on your computer. That's why they want the government established the computer years ago, because it's a data gathering. And everybody get on the internet for free, because people will put things on the internet that they would never share with you openly, but they'll post it on Facebook or write it on their digital diaries and just all kinds of stuff. Everybody can see. There are people that collect the data of every single thing that you do on the internet, everybody. Nothing is private. And yet people put stuff on there. I'm shocked. Actually, it's getting to the point where I almost can't be shocked anymore, because I think, man, I've seen it all. But just when I think that, something else happens. And there's a deal now, the guys were telling me just before we come on the air, there are people that think they're animals. And they wanted to be treated by animals, and one person thought they were some kind of they're birds now. And their parents were going to take them to a veterinarian, believe it or not, to be treated for something, and the veterinarian said, no, I'm not doing that, because he's into treating physical animals. I mean, just when you think you can't get shocked anymore, I hear something else. Well, let me get back on digital IDs, because that's a whole other program we could talk about. But last year, the G20 India leaders, at the declaration, they said this: we endorse the voluntary and non-binding G20 policy recommendations for advancing financial inclusion and productivity gains through digital public infrastructure. Remember, DPI, remember that. And he said, we take note of the significant role of digital public infrastructure in helping to advance financial inclusion in support of inclusive growth and sustainable development. Well, I'm going to talk to you in a minute about some different people that are involved in this DPI and show you how this is part of the future Mark of the Beast system that's being established as we speak. Remember, DPI.